Good evening.
Hello.
Hey Wade.
Hello.
Hi, Daniel.
Magda.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, folks. Danielle, can you folks hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Adam.
All right. I cannot figure out how to mute or to turn the volume down in here, so I might ask you guys to refrain
Hello.
from chit chat until we get started.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question though, or request rather?
Yeah, anything.
I actually gave you the wrong email for our Haitian Creole interpreter. So would you mind sending the link to Najla? I sent you her info a little earlier.
Uh-oh. Okay, let me see. So did you email me a?
Yeah, I sent you another email with her information, so you can send her the link.
Let me see. Oh, yep, you got it.
Awesome, thanks.
Edit.
Good morning, everyone.
This is not fun. Okay,
I'm
she should have it in her
evening, not
inbox
morning
now.
anymore. My God, my third shift.
All right. This is actually kind of challenging to see over the thingamabob. John's here though, so that's what matters. And we got our interpreters, which is awesome. Let's see if it works. Raisa. Do 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 do.
Hey, Adam.
Did it work?
I don't see her in here yet. But I actually have a question.
Sure.
So the ASL interpreters are here, and they had a question about, so they're going to be interpreting live where you guys are right now, correct?
Wait, I can't say that again, Danielle.
So the ASL interpreters have come in person, but I think there was a little bit unclear as, are they going to be on the screen, or how are they going to be standing in front? How is it going to work?
If you are standing anywhere, can you see, actually, can you see, oh, you can see it up there too. Like the view, as long as you're in. Oh, maybe he can't hear you.
Hi, Daniel. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Oh, okay. Najla, you're
It's
here.
Najla.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wonderful. Great. So we've got all our team on Zoom
Oh,
here
there you
ready
go.
to go.
Danielle, can you hear?
And ASL interpreters, I'm not sure if they can hear me, but
Danielle, this is
Adam, does it
Rachel.
look like everyone's all set?
This is Rachel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Rachel.
Okay, sorry, I was talking to you without a mic. So the issue is that the camera only focuses either on the council or on the podium for the testimonials. We cannot be in both, and if we're in the shot with the council, we'll be very small. If you'd rather, Luke and I can go to my house, then we'll be on Zoom.
Adam, what do you prefer?
That's great. Jennifer Spadafora, thank you, is offering her laptop. We could do that on site. I guess we're all set.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Jennifer.
It does. So the issue for
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Malden School Committee, who is meeting in person for the first time in a long time. And today is Monday, August 30th, 2021, and the time is 6:03 p.m. Our next meeting will take place on Monday, September 13th at 6 o'clock p.m. With one slight change, the meeting will take place in room 105, which is to my right and to your left. And the reason being that we have to make that change is the planning board is going to be here in the chamber at 7 o'clock. So for those watching and here in the council chamber, Malden Access Television, now known as UMA, Urban Media Arts, will be carrying the school committee from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m., and then they will jump over to the planning board meeting, which had to be rescheduled from its previous meeting last week. We also want to take a moment to welcome back all of our teachers and staff today. I'm happy to say that the superintendent made it through the ride-along that took place this morning. So what I told her after it was over, that she can now lower the premium on her life insurance, which she had increased when she knew that I was driving her to each school to welcome everyone back. So once again, thank you for teaming up with us today and welcoming everyone back. So let me go through this evening's agenda, which is as follows. We are first going to pledge allegiance to our flag. We will then have a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so, with a special moment of silence for the servicemen and women who lost their lives recently in Afghanistan. We will then call the roll to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to meet this evening. We will then turn it over to Daniel Najmi of Rosetta Languages. He actually has his own agenda item now. He's been with us for so long, and he will introduce our interpreters for this evening's meeting. After that, we will then look into approving our minutes from the August 9th and August 19th meeting. We will then open it up for public comment, at which time the person to my right, Adam Weldi, representing Ward 5, and who has also really been helpful to organizing public comment through Zoom, is going to do the same here this evening. We will then go to my left to hear from our superintendent, who will talk about where we are and where we're going as the school year gets underway. We will then go to subcommittee reports. Mr. Iovino will talk about the latest regarding enrollment. We will then entertain any motions and resolutions, which we don't have any as of right now. Then points of personal privilege, anybody that wishes to express. And then we will go into executive session pending a vote of the school committee. The items on executive session are first approving the minutes from August 9th, 2021. Then we will talk about non-union contract negotiations regarding the supervisor of attendance. And then finally, we will conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with paraprofessionals, because an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position, and that's what we so declare. Then we will come back out from executive session, again, pending a vote of the school committee, where we may or may not act on any of these items in executive session, and then after we will move adjournment. So if there are no questions, I would ask everyone to first please rise and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so today. Thank you. And now let us also take a moment to remember the servicemen and women who lost their lives in Afghanistan just recently. Thank you. We will now have the clerk call the roll. Here.
Here.
No, I got it on. Can you shut it off again? Wait a second.
Mr. Froyer?
Here.
Mr. Gray?
Here. All right, so we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to meet this evening. Now let's kick it over to Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor Gary. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to provide interpretation services as usual. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Luke and Rachel, who are already on the floor interpreting for ASL. Thank you so much. The rest of our interpreters will go ahead and do our intro in each of the different languages to help folks get onto the language channels. English speakers, y'all can sit tight for a moment. We will start with Arabic. السلام عليكم ومساء الخير. عندنا ترجمة باللغة العربية. إذا أردتم الاستماع إلى الترجمة عليك الضغط على رمز الكرة الأرضية التي يظهر على الشاشة بعد قليل. أيضا إذا كنت على هاتف محمول عليك الضغط على 3 نقط ثم اختيار الترجمة باللغات أو language interpretation ثم اللغة العربية أو Arabic ثم تم أو done. شكرا. I will now pass it to Spanish.
Thank you, Daniel. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Magdalena Gómez y voy a estar interpretando para español. En unos momentos vamos a activar los canales con los diferentes idiomas y para elegir el suyo, si es que está conectado desde una computadora, puede hacer clic en el icono de globo que va a aparecer en la parte de abajo de su pantalla y escoja la opción español. Y si es que estás desde un teléfono móvil, haz clic en los 3 puntitos verticales que aparecerán a la derecha de tu pantalla y escoge interpretación de idiomas. Luego escoge español y luego termina. Thank you. I'll pass it to Portuguese.
Boa noite, meu nome é Raíssa, eu sou intérprete português hoje. Daqui a pouco a gente vai estar ligando função de interpretação para essa reunião. Se você estiver participando de um computador, depois que a gente liga a função de interpretação, você vai ver um globo na parte de baixo da sua tela. Por favor, clique nesse globo e escolha português. E depois escolhe o finalizado ou done. Se você estiver participando de um telefone celular, você vai ver 3 pontinhos na parte de baixo da sua tela e, por favor, escolhe esses 3 pontinhos, escolhe português e depois done ou finalizado. Obrigada. I will now pass it to Haitian Creole.
Hello, bonsoir tout le monde. Nom moi c'est Najla Bonnet, m'a interprété pour nous dans le créole haïtien après-midi. Et sinon, après l'assister réunion dans ordinateur, n'a pas un globe, et t'as pour un boule cliquer sur lui, et puis aller dans langage d'interprétation, choisir Haitian Creole. Si nous avons un téléphone mobile, on va prendre 3 petits boules, peser sur lui, on va prendre langage d'interprétation, et puis choisir Haitian Creole, le haïtien, et puis les nous fini, cliquez done. Et puis, ou fini. Et pour être capable d'entendre l'interprétation. Now I'm going to pass it to Vietnamese.
Actually, Vietnamese interpreter. Hi, this is Lynn. I am the Vietnamese interpreter. Xin chào quý vị, tên tôi là Linh, tôi là người phiên dịch tiếng Việt của Rosetta Languages cho quý vị hôm nay. Một khi chúng tôi đã kích hoạt tính năng phiên dịch, xin vui lòng bấm vào biểu tượng quả địa cầu ở trên màn hình và chọn ngôn ngữ là tiếng Việt, Vietnamese, để được nghe phiên dịch trực tiếp. Nếu quý vị đang dùng điện thoại thông minh, smartphone thì xin bấm vào 3 chấm, rồi sau đó chọn ngôn ngữ phiên dịch, Language Interpretation, rồi sau đó là chọn tiếng Việt, Vietnamese. Rồi sau đó quý vị bấm done là xong. Xin cảm ơn quý vị. Thank you, and now I pass it on to Mandarin.
Thank you. 大家好，我是你的普通话翻译是叫李伟，感谢您今天加入今天的会议。如果你需要同声传译的话呢，请点击屏幕底下的这个地球仪标志，然后选择中文 Mandarin 选项，进入翻译频道。如果你是通过这个手机或者是平板的话呢，点会看到3个点，然后点3个点之后看到更多之后可以选这个 Mandarin 中文这个选项，就可以听这个翻译。好 ，OK, now pass it to Cantonese Anna.
Thank you, Wei. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anna. I'll be your Cantonese interpreter for the meeting tonight. 大家好，我係 Anna， 我哋今晚嘅廣東話同步翻譯員。陣間咧，你會見到個圖標地球儀，咁你撳落去揀 Cantonese， 咁你撳咗落去之後咧，咁你就會成功進入咗廣東話嘅翻譯頻道噶啦。如果你用手機嘅話咧，咁要撳嗰個3個點之後更多，再揀 Cantonese， 亦都會成功進入咗廣東話嘅翻譯頻道嘅喎。多謝大家。Thank you. Back to you, Danielle.
Thank you, Anna. So I'll just remind all the team to make sure you are unmuted, that your microphone is working. And just a reminder to all the speakers to please don't speak too fast, take it easy. That way we'll be able to faithfully interpret everything you say. And with that, you may go ahead and turn on the language channels.
All right, language channels are activated.
All right, everyone. So the first item on this evening's agenda is the approval of minutes. So let's first take a look at the special session minutes of August 9th, 2021. Motion by Mr. Iovino, seconded by Mr.
Réunion 9 août
So any questions on those?
2021. Est-ce qu'il y a une question?
Second. I think the next item should be a suspension of rules to give Adam Weldy a stipend.
All right, fingers crossed.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
No, but yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Weldy. So again, the motion was made by Mr. Iovino, was seconded by Mr. McCarthy. This is on the special session minutes of August 9, 2021. I don't think there were any questions, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. Now the special session minutes of August 19th, 2021. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions, anyone on those? Everyone's had a chance to look them over. All those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. We're now down to the second item on the agenda, which is public comment. This is an opportunity for you to address the school committee. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record, and please keep your remarks to just a couple of minutes. As always, we will now go over to Mr. Weldy, who will help us administer public comment both in person and at home.
All right, if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, please just come up to the podium and we'll give you an opportunity to. For those folks at home or on Zoom, please just use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or if you're on the phone, dial *9, and we will allow you a chance to address the committee. Do you want to take in person first? All right, just name and address for the record.
Now, Deb, go easy on us. You're making history right now. The first in-person speaker at the new
This
City
is
Hall.
very exciting. Deb Gesualdo, 34 Abington Road in Danvers. Good evening, Mayor Christensen, Malden School Committee, and Superintendent Noriega Murphy. I didn't even think of that, Mayor Christensen. This is very exciting. It has been a long time since I've seen all of you at an in-person school committee meeting, and it is really nice to see all of you and be here in this beautiful new space. As I said, my name is Deb Gesualdo. I am the proud president of the Malden Education Association. I want to express my deep gratitude for all of the Unit A, B, and C educators of the MEA, as well as our school site administrators, food service workers, and custodians. Although last year was definitely not a perfect year by any means, any way you look at it, I saw just so many incredible acts of compassion, activism, and community organizing. And so many of those people that were involved in so many of those different things were members of our public school community. Some of them were MEA members. Some of them were members of other municipal unions. Some of them were students. Some of them were caregivers. Some of them were school site administrators. And it was really, really heartwarming to see all of those different people from our school community come together and make sure that members of our school community and the broader community were taken care of. And as we're kicking off what looks like it's promising to be another, shall we say, unique year, I just want to say how thankful and how proud I am to be part of this community. I may not live here, but I think I spend more time here than I do. I think I just sleep in Danvers. I spend more time here than I do anywhere else. And I am just so thankful and proud to be part of this community. This is my 18th year here. And I really am thankful to be part of this community. A community that unites, inspires, and leads even in the face of a pandemic.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the school committee?
We've
Can do so
got
now.
one so far on chat, or two on chat. Let's start with
Let's go to them.
Zoom. Sorry. Malden CPAC. So Malden CPAC, you've rejoined as a panelist. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Fitzgerald. I live at 45 Westmore Road here in the city of Malden. Good evening, Mayor Christensen, Superintendent Noriega Murphy, and school committee members. I am the parent of two elementary school-age children at the Linden STEAM Academy, and I'm also the current president of the Malden Special Education Parent Advisory Council. As we start a new school year, I want to publicly acknowledge that all caregivers of students with an individual education and 504 accommodation plan are automatic voting members of the CPAC, and we invite all who are not already on our email listserv to reach out to us through our email, pac@maldencpac.org, through our Malden Special Education Parent Advisory Council Facebook page, or through our website at www.maldenps.org/Malden-CPAC, where our communications are translated. We also encourage any caregiver of any Malden student who has questions about individual education or 504 accommodation plans, particularly after the last 18 months. We encourage you to reach out to us as well. With the limited time that I have this evening, I would like to address the North Reading Transportation Contract, which was the subject of your July 29th, 2021 meeting. By way of background, the CPAC reached out to the district in the spring after this contract was discussed publicly, repeatedly last school year, due to amendments to the contract due to COVID. We were well aware of the June 30th expiration and received several comments about the quality of the service from many diverse members of the CPAC community. For whatever reason, the district decided not to pursue a request for proposal ahead of the expiration of the contract, and nothing was done before that June 30th deadline. This is why you had to have an emergency meeting on July 29th, after being without a contract for 30 days during extended school year services and 30 days out from the start of in-person learning. This was an avoidable situation that is unacceptable to have no other options or bargaining leverage, resulting in your decision on July 29th, when it quite possibly was not in the best interest of our students. What was even more disappointing was the lack of more than 48 hours notice of this July 29th meeting and the lack of any public comment or the opportunity of the relevant stakeholders to be heard and to be considered by each of you before you made the vote that you did. And despite Ms. Batafour's efforts to evoke dialogue, discussion, and consideration of different perspectives, there was unfortunately none of that. The decision was made to extend this contract for one additional year, and again, without more thoughtful consideration from those who are most impacted. The stakeholders of this service are the most vulnerable of our student population. Many cannot communicate or otherwise articulate when any concerns that need real-time attention arise. It is because of this vulnerability that state law requires transportation companies to collect and retain this data. However, there quite astonishingly isn't any current district policy or procedure regarding data collection and retention from the North Reading Transportation Company, despite not only the existing contract, but more importantly, clear responsibility of the district over the care of these students while they are being transported to and from their educational placements, both in and out of district. This appears to be a considerable risk of liability for the district, so I implore the committee to look into, in consultation with your attorney, into implementing data collection and retention policies and procedures. The CPAC again offers its assistance between now and hopefully well before June 30th to protect the best interest of our most vulnerable students. I want to say that the CPAC looks forward to an open and collaborative relationship with the district administration and the school committee over this coming school year. And as always, I thank you for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you.
All right, next up we've got Eden Garhart-Smith. Eden, you there?
Sorry.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Eden Garhart-Smith. I live at 16 Quarry Road in Malden. First, I just wanted to say thank you for the summer program that happened at the Salem Wood this year. It was great. I don't know if you can take a look back and realize COVID rates were going low for 2 summers now and think about that in the future, making sure that there's an opportunity there in the summer for kids to get help or extra support. I hope it continues. I also wanted to express my frustration with there not being after school at Linden. I know throughout the summer it was expressed continually that they needed staff, and I understand that, but I don't think it was right that it was ever expressed that some schools will run and some schools don't, and that difference between. And I still don't know what schools it's running at and some schools it's not. I don't know if Linden's the only one, it might be. But it was frustrating. I did find other care, and partially because I had to, because I have money taken out of my paycheck for dependent care, right? And I talked to my employer and it was too late to make any changes. So I am kind of in a bind where I have to spend more time transporting my kid to care, like parking, walking him in. And I'm not sure, I think it's worth it, but it's not how I would have done it had I known. And And I'm also frustrated by hearing about band today at Linden. I heard there's no longer a band teacher at Linden this year. I feel sometimes that K through 8s, as much as they're supposed to be about social emotional, they're really lacking. I feel sometimes that if we had a real elementary school, we could service after school that way better. And so I feel like we're so split up that you have to have so much support at all 5 schools that you fall short, right? And then for the older kids, they lose out on things like band, again, because you have to pick a school, and it's frustrating and sad. And I just wanted to express that. And I guess last I'll say about COVID, as in the meeting, I was disappointed that I had to wait till today to hear about how lunch would work. And I still would like more, but I'm happy to hear that they're going to put tables in the entryway, but I still would like some outside sometime with blankets or something, but I didn't get any of that. I feel like it comes down to second grade when the teacher talks about needs versus wants, and kids need to stay safe. This isn't a want. And I'm just worried that in a lunchroom with, I asked today, it was 160 kids at a time in the lunchroom and then 80 kids, I believe, in the entryway. That's a lot of kids with no masks on. I'm not sure I would enter a room with that many kids. So I'm concerned and I'm worried, and I think more could be done. I know I had my kids tested yesterday to make sure that when they enter on day 1, they're not going in with COVID, at least to the best of my ability. I mean, I guess it can still happen, but we're not even requiring that. We don't have testing forms yet. Like, those should be home already. And so I guess I asked that to the Linden nurses today was, I'm continuing to test my kids until you are set up, but I'm not supposed to, because on the front door it says, if you're testing for COVID, you're supposed to wait to get to the results, but I'm not testing because they're sick or because they were in close contact. I'm testing because my school district isn't set up yet. And I want to be aware, I guess. So those are my frustrations. I appreciate you listening. I know this is really hard. I'm sorry. I thank you for listening. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right, last chance. If anyone would like to speak, you just need to use the raise hand feature, or anybody in person, come on up to the podium. Seeing none.
Okay, so we're going to close public comment and next go to the superintendent's report.
It is the intro plan.
Yep. So you'll take it from here now.
Hi, good evening, and thank you all for coming tonight. And good evening, Mayor Christensen, school committee members, and I enjoy very much going in that food truck. Yes, my insurance, I was able to call and say, hey, you can decrease the premium now, I'm safe and sound, and it was so nice to see all the principals and all the teachers outside the building. It was just very nice to see everybody back. So right now is going to be actually the entry plan. Every superintendent that is part of the Massachusetts Association of Superintendent Schools have to do an entry plan, and therefore and it's part of my contract. So today is just the presentation of what I have been doing. And with this, if you don't mind, Adam, next slide. I would like to say that all the work that we are doing and also my core values are centered in students. So all the work that we do, everything is about what works for students, what is best for students. So this is almost my 2 months in the job. It has been a little learning, and I love all the students have been able to meet, and I can't wait to see them in September 1st. A little background on the Massachusetts Association of Superintendents, which is AASS. It is a program that was approved by school committee, a part of my contract, where it will give me the opportunity to work with other new superintendents in the area. I will be able to get, I was assigned a mentor that is going to be able to guide me through the process of what is to lead a system. I also want to highlight that all the work that we are going to be doing this year, it is based on a coherence framework. That means that we are going to be looking at students, teachers, the content, but the focus of the work will be also an instructional core. What kind of instruction we are going and providing to the students, what materials are going to be using, how we are going to be able to use some of the students' background and experiences in our curriculum, how do we engage teachers in the conversation, and once again, what resources we're going to need for that. We are going to engage later on, as I'm still in the learning process, on the theory of change or theory of action. We are going to look at the strategies we're going to be using to address the school culture and the district culture. We are going to focus on structures, systems, resources, stakeholders, and equity in everything that we do. This program is going to be a 3-year program, which is amazing because I will be able to work with new superintendents just to see how things are going in the districts, and we started already sending text messages. But I'm really, I have to say, fortunate to have one of the best coaches in Massachusetts from the MASS, and that is Dr. Mary Burke, who is actually in the audience. And I say I'm very fortunate, and Adam also will share that sentiment with me. Dr. Mary Burke has been an educator for over 30 years. She was raised and educated in Chelsea. She started her career in Chelsea schools, and she worked as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a principal, and then she was also a deputy superintendent for 7 years. But the most amazing thing is that she was a superintendent of 1,600 students in Chelsea. And I had to say that she set the tone of what high expectations are, how to create school culture where students feel comfortable and teachers are able to teach. Her work has been always focused on what works for students. She was able to work with leading the work on the student mobility. She has been able to make a lot of emphasis on how this work can shape other schools. So therefore, her work was part of the, as one of the indicators for the school and district profiles in the 2010 reauthorization of educational reform. Her leadership is just amazing. She's always working, trying to make sure that students' voice is there. And you can see her profile that is highlighted. But one of the most amazing things, well, so many things about Dr. Burke, is that she was named the Superintendent of the Year in 2017. And in 2019, she received one of the most prestigious awards that a superintendent can aspire to, and that is the Thomas Tip O'Neill Award. So I am very lucky to have Dr. Burke as my mentor, and I know she's already helping with the transition, so thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you. One of the exercises that we had to do, and it's about leadership orientations. And we base all the work on reframing organizations. We use Lee Bonan and Terry Deal, and there are 4 frames. 1, instructional leadership, human resources leadership, political, and symbolic. And I want to share with you my scores. So in the framework, when you take the assessment, it just tells you the distribution of where is your leadership. So I will share with you my scores. You can range from scale 6 to 24, and it was very interesting for me to see that there's almost equal distribution on instructional, human resources, political, and symbolic. But we know that that changes according to the situation. But I just wanted to share with you my scores. What we are going to do is develop an entry plan Right now, we are going to be able to collect data, analyze data, develop and share an action plan. The work right now is to learn by listening, learning, and observing. So you have seen me asking a lot of questions to people, interviewing people, meeting one-on-one with parents, with the school committee members. Thank you for your time. With members from the community, and also faith-based organizations and other partners. On phase 2, we are going to be analyzing and sharing with you all the feedback that we received. On phase 3, we are going to develop a preliminary goal tied to the district strategic plan. I know there was a lot of work done prior to my time about district strategic plan, and we are going to see how we can align the findings with the goals that were set up by this group of committee members, educators who engage in this tedious work. And I say tedious because I know we're long hours, long meetings, but I can tell you that your work will be recognized, and I will be glad to bring all the work that was done and presented to school committee as the strategic plan for the Malden Public Schools for your approval. And I want to thank all the members of the community that participated in these long hour meetings and also on weekends. Right now we are on phase 1, which is listening, learning, and observing. Believe it or not, it doesn't feel that way. It seems like we already moving to phase 3. And as I said before, we have been meetings with a lot of groups, student advisory groups, town meetings, conversations with school leaders. So you can see everything there. But one of the most important things that we are discovering is meeting with principals and meeting with teachers and listening to their feedback. What we are going to do is anything that we develop in this district is going to be teamwork. That means everything is going to come from venting ideas, programs with school leaders, families, community members, school committee members, and at the same time to be able to put it in a public format before it comes for a vote. We are revising a lot of documents. We are looking at policies that exist and policies that need to be in place. So you are going to be able to listen to our list or hear the list of policies that exist and the policies that we are going to be working on. And I want to thank some school committee members for all the work, especially with the bullying policy that we are working on and other policies that should be in place. So thank you for that. We are going to be providing opportunities for community members to meet in person. We are going to be holding hybrid town meetings, create surveys, and be able to share the data that we're going to be collecting with you. We know that we have a data collection system that needs work, and we are going to be working on that. The strategic plan, once again, will come to the district, and we are going to make sure that we are going to have targets, and we are going to be able to measure our growth according to how we collect the data, and that is going to inform our practice of what needs to be changed, revamped in all our schools. Once again, the focus is in the emerging priorities and core values. Curriculum, resources, schedules, time on learning, but putting everything together of what students need. We want to make sure that we are going to create a system of transparency, communication, and collaboration. And to those families, my apologies for the ones that were not able to log into our Zoom meeting because of capacity, things that I'm learning about the system. So please, I thank you for waiting patiently, and also I want to thank all the principals for opening all the back-to-school meetings this week and providing families with a lot of information. We want to ground our work on equity, so we will be investing a lot of time on training and also creating a policy that really addresses the issues that sometimes we lack in terms of having a process, procedures, and also why the district is going to engage in certain policies if we don't have a criteria. We need to hear from you to make sure that all our policies are aligned with the work that needs to be done in the district. And of course, we're getting ready for September 1st. I want to focus on a district that is coherent. We have alignment, calibration. We can measure our goals and targets, and that's how I would love for the city of Malden to actually value my work. When we say we are going to do something and we put targets and goals, I want to use those targets and goals as the way that is going to be measured my evaluation at the end of each school year and hopefully mid-year. Accountability for everybody who works with students, the same thing with students, and also how I will hold myself accountable for making sure that Malden Public Schools is going to be a safe place for students to learn and for teachers to teach. I want to make sure that once again, we're going to be able to focus on equity and remove all those walls that we built in front of students and teachers, which prevent them from really learning and from teachers able to teach. So we want to make sure we remove all those walls and want to create a system where teachers are not afraid to come forward and share their thinking, their thoughts, their concerns. I want students to be able to do the same thing. We want to create a culture where everybody feels comfortable sharing their ideas, and also when hard conversations need to take place, that we can also do it in a respectful way. There are some samples of documents that are going to be public, so I'm going to post this actually in the website so you can access them. And I just want to make sure that how I measure the work that I'm going to be doing in Malden is because I know that I can do better, but I know I can do better when I know I can do better. So I want to make sure that all the work is based on creating things together with the team, because we want to make sure we have the best system in the United States, and that should be Malden Public Schools. Thank you.
Do you want to take questions?
Any questions, that would be great, yeah.
Yep. Any questions of the members so far? Any questions? Let's see, I believe Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Ms. Noriega Murphy, for that. Just a few questions. Well, before I get to my questions, a statement, you are very lucky to have a mentor that has come from a district that I feel mimics very much what Malden is, you know, and I was really happy to see the length of time that she spent in Chelsea, because that's something that we strive for here, is having somebody here for the long haul. So the 3 phases that you talked about, is there a time frame between those phases, or is, you know, when can we expect to go into phase 3, or are we already there?
I think I'm in phase 4 already. I would be able to give you that timeline when we actually set up all the information that we have collected, and I would be glad to share it next time that we meet.
Okay. And then in regards to phase 3, it stated preliminary goals. Are these goals individual goals, and are they tied to what we would be evaluating you on, you know, a yearly basis? Are these personal goal, like, you know, tied to the superintendent's position?
So I mentioned last week to Mayor Gary Christensen about my evaluation, because I do hold myself accountable for the work that needs to be done here. So one will be, yes, these goals should be used, and these are the emerging goals. This is what people have been telling us that we need to focus on. And it's also a personal growth goal to focus on the instructional core. I used to have a social guidance counselor who taught me how to become a good principal, like we had to say, when she said, every student has a sad story. Students come with different challenges. But in order to make sure that we support them, we have to educate them. We can provide all the wraparound services to our students, but at the end of the day, the only thing that we can really give them is a great education. So therefore, that's where my commitment is. We do have a lot of students with different challenges, but my moral obligation, and as a superintendent, is to make sure they're going to have all those tools, all that knowledge that is going to allow them to go and compete with any student around the world, and instead of just giving wraparound services and not to focus on education.
Do I have a moment for one more question? So a big thank you to the principals as well for their meetings this week. I know I watched the BB this afternoon for my own child. With that being said, as we enter the world of technology, is there any way for us, when we do have these principal meetings or your meetings, town halls, for us to record those, to put out onto the individual school sites for those parents that might not be available to watch, rather than emails coming in saying, you know, something that could be watched after the fact when they get home from work or whatnot? Can we make sure?
I agree with you 110%. Yes, we are going to start recording them. Yes.
Wonderful. That's all from here.
Thank you, Ms. Spatafora. Okay, back to our, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really just one or two quick things that I wanted to point out, and I think Ms. Spatafora said it better than I could, because I have an extreme bias, but I'm also incredibly happy that you were getting a chance to work with Dr. Burke. I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Burke for not nearly enough time, so I think that the fact that you have such a grounded and experienced mentor will serve you really well for the long run. And I just wanted to express my gratitude, because when I was watching these slides and watching you go over the different phases, it is kind of fascinating that we're still in, it's only been 2 months, right? Because it feels like it's been a lot longer. You definitely hit the ground running here prior to July 1, and we appreciate that and acknowledge that. But I can tell you, just in the summer alone, it's been a really long time since I've been able to bump into a high school kid, and they not only know who the superintendent is, they've had a conversation with the superintendent, and they've got an appointment with the superintendent to follow up on the conversation that they had. You know, it's not, I think, it can't be undersold. I mean, the conversations that, you know, walking down the street at a summer festival when someone would say, I saw her at church. That is fast, it's awesome. It's awesome, and I think we're extremely appreciative of the outreach that you've been doing. I know that it will never be perfect, and no one will ever satisfy 100% of the people, but the outreach that you've done thus far, I know I, as one member, am extremely grateful for, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Weldy. Okay, back to you, Superintendent.
So now it's going to be the report, superintendent's report. So I do have staff members who are going to be reporting on each part of the work. And we are going to be looking at data. We are going to go over the updates for diversity, equity, and engagement, curriculum, instructional assessment. We are going to look at student services, finance and business, and actually it's finance and operations, English language learners, and Title III, Title I, athletics, physical education, and health. And I'm going to pass the microphone to our amazing member of the school committee, Mr. Iovino. You have the floor for the data.
I do, Dr. Noriega, thank you. The current enrollment for the Malden Public Schools as of this past Friday, actually as of this afternoon, is 5,771. It's down significantly from last year, but there are a number of applications that have to be processed because the parents have yet to complete them. So I'm sure that by October 1st, this number will jump significantly, both for kindergarten, for preschool registration, and for other grades K through 12. I also want to mention that Malden High School graduated 415 youngsters this past June and during the summer, and a credit to these other young men and women who stuck with it and finished the coursework that they needed to finish in August. 12 additional students were awarded the diplomas that they earned. So it was a total graduation class of 427. Also, this past summer, the summer program enrollment totaled 814 youngsters, 321 youngsters at the Salemwood School who were serving students in the summer enrichment program for other schools around the city, and in the MOST program, which is renamed from the after-school program, some 650 youngsters were involved. At the Forest Hills School, with the extra learning time in the YWCA program, 144 other youngsters were served. Also, end-of-year services for students with disabilities around the city total 289, for a total of 814 youngsters who received additional services this summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to report that we have our focus on instructional core, and that means that we have worked on some structured systems, resources, strategies. We have involved all stakeholders. We have a 3-day institute a retreat with the principals where we were able to work together and listen to their voices and also go over the expectations for the school year that is approaching us. We went over some policies, and we are going to be working on school cultures. We had our new Teachers Institute. There is a mini reorganization of supervision and evaluation of the school leaders. I'm going to share those with you, and later on in another meeting, I'm going to go over the new reorganizational chart of the district. And at this moment, I'm still in progress, so I'm not going to share that with you at this moment. We also have engaged with school leaders about what is Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. People will be asking me, what is Plan A? Means that we are going back to school September 1st. We are going to be just wearing masks and follow the policies and procedures that CDC and the state had in place. Plan B is what happens if we have to go hybrid. So it's already thinking about what the schedules might look like, what platforms we can use, and every single student having access to technology and internet. And this is not just on the principals, this is also in central office. What will be our roles and responsibility just in case we go into hybrid? Plan C is that we all go remote. What it's going to look like, what will be the schedule like, what will be the courses and curriculum the students will have to follow. So therefore, in Plan A, students will continue using technology some part of the day for a few minutes so they don't forget how to log in, how to be able to navigate on some of the applications. And this is just in case things change. Hopefully nothing will change, and we are going to have an amazing and successful, stable school year. Vaccination in schools is going to start in September. We are going to start very strong about that. So any families, we are going to post all the forms tomorrow morning so you can actually start sending information about vaccination. And we are going to confirm with parents that they actually are signing the forms. I have met with more than over 50 caregivers, and I say that I answered 272 plus text messages. Actually, it has been 510 emails and text messages within the 2 months of my senior, I would say. We are realigning the work. We are looking at databases. We are looking at Aspen. We are looking at the website. Please bear with us while we go with the website. We are looking at COVID updating every single document, and we are going to also rename the Parent Information Center, known as the PIC, as a welcoming center. And it's just not changing the name, it's actually professional development that is going on with every single member of that department in customer service, efficiency, and looking at how we collect data and how we serve families. When I talk about restructuring the evaluation and supervision of principals, is I will still connect it to them, but in order to mainstream the communications, all principals will be working with one assistant superintendent assigned to them. It's one phone call away. And instead of calling 12 people, emailing 12 people, trying to get answers from everybody, they just call one assistant superintendent, and the job of this assistant superintendent is to make sure to get answers immediately for principals, because we know that their time is very limited, and we need them to be in the schools, in the classrooms. So if you look at the distribution here, you will see Beebe, Forestdale, and Salemwood will be working closely with Emily Peña. Fairway, Linden, and Malden High School will be working closely with Larissa Doherty. And the Early Learning Center is going to be our new principal. I have to acknowledge that. We have Tamara Lawrence. She was just hired mid-July, but welcome. She's going to be working closely with Pam McDonald. I'm going just to ask Larissa to please come forward, and if everybody can just get ready to present would be great. And this is about diversity, equity, and engagement.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Christensen, school committee members, and Dr. Noriega Murphy. My slide is up there, Adam, if you want to just go ahead. Thank you. I'm just going to provide a quick updates, some new information, and some next steps that I've been looking at and learning from to be able to move us forward with diversity, equity, and engagement. Primarily, we have 5 new family liaisons who are undergoing training. They're one in each of the K-8 schools. I also was able to persuade Dr. Noriega Murphy, and she was gracious enough to allow 2 additional part-time family liaisons in what we are now calling the Welcome Center, who speak the languages that were not represented in that office. So now when our families come, they're going to be able to hopefully speak with someone who has command of those 7 major languages in Malden to be able to get support right away. As of this morning at 7:30 a.m., we had 300 incomplete applications. So those are applications that the office, that's the Parent Information Center, is actively trying to get additional information in order to enroll students. So they're calling, they're emailing, they're doing whatever they need to do. That includes any sort of special testing for second language learners, for our nurses to be able to review the immunizations and other health records, and for special education to review transcripts, to review IEPs, and do those conversions so we can get kids in school as soon as possible. There are 190 new applications, which I'm sure is severely reduced from 7 o'clock this morning, because they have really been chugging away, and we've provided some additional staff over the last couple of weeks. Those family liaisons have done really well. Additionally, Dr. Noriega Murphy also spoke a little bit about the policies. Chairperson Weldai and I are going to be working together to look at the current policies and procedures to see what might need some updating, how we can make that a little bit more visible, where are the things that we need some support, such as the bullying policy and the equity policy, to get them just in front of you so that we can get that working in schools. And also looking at how we're engaging our community forums, which will be that phase 2 that Dr. Noriega Murphy has talked about, which we're really looking forward to get into so that we can form an equity commission as soon as possible. And I appreciate all of your time. I'm going to step away so that Ms. Pena can take over.
Thank you. And now we are going to hear from Emily Pena, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Christensen, Superintendent Noriega Murphy, and school committee members. I just want to give a couple of updates on curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I want to start by saying that we continue to be really committed to teaching to the standards, being a Common Core district. And to that end, we have developed a K-12 district scope and sequence for ELA, math, and ESL. This scope and sequence is going to live in our curriculum hub, which right now houses the majority of our curriculum resources for our teachers in the district. In addition to that, last year we piloted a K-5 math curriculum. Eureka is the name. And then this year we will be all K-5 teachers will be teaching the new K-5 math curriculum, and with continuing support for new educators that have joined us that didn't go through the training last year to be able to be trained and know how to implement this curriculum. In addition to that, we've started working, our Title I director, Victoria Mulcairn, has started to curate and vet literacy curriculums as we look forward next year to a K-8 new literacy curriculum adoption. We have also really adopted the DESE acceleration roadmap that was put out to help us recover from COVID. And sort of in alignment to that, we are setting annual academic targets for Malden Public Schools. And that work just started actually this week with all of the directors with our first major data meeting as the MCAS data was released. Even though it's still embargoed, internally we could analyze it. In addition to that, we are making some changes to the evaluation system and really trying to align the role of the principals as instructional leaders, spending more time in the classroom, observing and giving feedback to teachers. Really exciting, we have partnered with Spasato Graduate School of Education, and this is a 3-year program that allows our paraprofessionals to have a pathway or just like an opportunity to enroll in this program, The first year, they would complete their master's. The second year, they would be hired by us as a district with a lot of support. And the third year, they would still be receiving support from the program. We held our first webinar on the 26th. We had 7 participants join, and 3 of them have already signed up to start with the program. So we're really excited to continue to grow our own. In an effort to better structure the supports that the district offers the school, we've hired a new K-12 director for world language and fine arts, so we're really excited about this new hire. And then in terms of next steps, we will be submitting our ESSA grant on September 15th and our ESSER 3 grant on October 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from our Students Services, Pamela McDonald.
Hi, how are you tonight? It's nice to see everyone in person. The first slide is just our enrollment, which you guys can look at. This was as of the 25th, I believe, so I'm sure that has changed a little bit as we get enrollment. You want the next slide? First of all, we had a great extended year. I was super excited for it. I do need to thank some people that worked really hard. We had a bunch of teachers step up and work that didn't want to, related service providers, our paraprofessionals pitched in. I had a couple of nurses, Maureen, Renee, and Vonette, who were not going to work, but we weren't going to be able to run programming, so they stepped in and worked, so I have to give them a shout out, as well as the rest of our program supervisors and staff for the summer that helped us. So I just want to say a special thank you to all of them, because it wouldn't have happened without them. This summer we had 99 students at the ELC, 87 at the Linden. Thank you to Ray, because he helped out there a lot this summer, Mr. Garcia. We had 58 students at the high school, and we serviced 54 students with COVID compensatory services. So that's something I know the school committee was very was committed to providing for students, so we did provide 54 students with additional services over the summer for COVID compensatory. And anyone that still feels they're owed it can get in touch with me and we'll work that out. So here's my quick updates. Tiered focus monitoring is ongoing. We have a draft in to DESE of our continuous improvement plan. We're hoping that will be here next week or the week after, and once it's up, we will post it on the website. I'll also present it to you. We have started our preschool collaboration, our preschool hub. The mayor was very gracious to come to it, and I want to thank Maria Luis and Chris Webb for helping me find all of those preschools, and we had 14 different preschools that were having conversations with us, how to come together to talk about best practices, how do we find those families that aren't being served, how do we make sure that everyone has a spot, even if we as Malden Public Schools do not have a place for them, and how do we serve them in the best interest of all of our kids, because at the end of the day, whether they're with us, our little friends, or the YMCA, or Chevrolet, they come to us at the end of the day. So that was super exciting. I've gotten a lot of questions about co-teaching. We are committed to co-teaching. We are going to keep co-teaching. I believe in co-teaching. We're just looking at allocating teachers across the district according to student needs. We have had a lot of resignations, and we're really committed to making sure all of our students have a highly qualified teacher. When we look at the data, we realize that some of our caseloads, some of our classrooms and teachers have 2 students, and some had as many as 19. So we're really just trying to spread the wealth and make sure that those, for equity purposes, that those caseloads are even, so that all of our students get as much services as possible. I have to say this. This is, we had, Erin, how many? 7 students graduate in the spring. I think this is amazing, so thank you to Erin Craven and the high school staff. We had 7 students that graduated with high school diplomas and associates from Malden High School this spring. So in order to facilitate that, we are opening an early college center to help those students at Malden High School so that they can be supported in that journey. Oops, I keep hitting this. September 1st, we will open a new therapeutic program at the high school called RISE, and this will have the capacity to serve up to 30 of our most emotionally fragile students, so that's a big plus. I'd like to welcome our new principal to the ELC, Tamara Lawrence. We have 2 new program managers,
Shayna Goldman and Stephanie Scalise, who will be taking over for Heather and Monique. We are going to implement the parent portal through our new frontline system, which is our new online IEP system, so parents will be able to log on and see their IEPs. You should also be able to, once we get it up and running, sign your IEPs online. So that will be a big plus for parents and allow them to be more involved and have more access to their children's paperwork. We're working to integrate Aspirin and Frontline so they work seamlessly together. As far as next steps, as soon as we get our continuous improvement plan back from DESE, we will implement the findings and align our improvements with what they've asked us to do. We're going to follow up with monthly preschool meetings to foster that collaboration. And we started training on the new frontline system today. We actually had an hour and 45-minute training for any staff that were interested today. So I know that was a lot, but thank you, and I tried to go fast.
Thank you, Pam. Now we're going to hear from Tony Mers, the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations.
Good evening, members of the school committee. We're just going to give you a quick update on Title I and Title III. Those have been completed. We're just waiting for Title IIA and Title IV to be able to submit the ESSA funds, which are due September 15th. On the ESSER funds, there's 1, 2, and 3. On ESSER 1, we are 65% spent, with the remaining to be spent by June. On ESSER 2, we've started hiring members staff, sorry. I'm sorry. So on ESSER 2, the money that was allocated to hire staff, we have started to hiring staff to be paid out of ESSER 2. ESSER 3 is due October 4th, and we are working diligently to get ESSER 3 ready and submitted by October 4th. In terms of operations, we've been very, very busy all summer making sure that the buildings are clean and ready to start accepting students. We do have a daily cleaning plan. We are cleaning all high touch points throughout the day as students are in schools. We clean the air filters. We have MERV 13 air filters that we do replace every 3 months. Thanks to the city, we'll be getting new HVAC units at all the buildings. I believe the first ones will be starting coming in right around late September. They're due to come in. So then we'll be working on a schedule to get all of those implemented. Hand sanitizers, masks, and sanitizing wipes will be in each room, and our custodians will be checking those on a daily basis to make sure nobody runs out. I think that's it.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Now we're going to hear from Jennifer McCabe, the Director of English Learner Education, Title III.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer McCabe. I am the Director of English Learner Education in Title III. And what that means is I work with administration, teachers, and families, all of the English language learners. That includes curriculum, extended year services, grants, and everything above. This year, as we had stated, our enrollment is about 900 plus English language learners. Every day we're enrolling families and we're working in teams to make that a possibility for them to get in as soon as possible. We have about 102 English learners that are both on an IEP and they're an English learner. And last year we've exited 265 English language learners. So that was something we were really proud of. Our top 6 languages in Malden are Portuguese, Spanish, Haitian Creole, Chinese, Arabic, and Vietnamese. And our students represented from over 67 countries. There's over 50 languages spoken in Malden. So the next slide shows all the languages. And some updates are our summer EL program. We had about 50 students attend. We had a summer group of ESL teachers that work with the humanities and STEM teacher teams to align standards, grade level curriculum, and implement those standards with WIDA language goals. In order to continue supporting students, we have used the Title III grant money in the following areas. We have a Title III coach This coach works K to 12 with teachers of English language learners. This is the same position that we had last year. We have an EL family coordinator. We'll be working with EL teacher curriculum leaders. These teacher leaders will work with the science, math, ELA, and humanities department to really scaffold that curriculum for English language learners. We have extended learning time programs such as acceleration academies in the February and April break and summer enrichment programs. And currently we're looking as a district to partner up with organizations to provide adult ESL classes. I know, Gary, you've attended the graduations, and that's a really fun event for all of us. But this year, we're also trying to focus on more career-related parent opportunities, so we're working in teams to figure this out, that with workshops that could assist families with career and programmatic certifications. And next step, we're always recruiting certified ESL teachers and other support staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Now we are going to hear from Victoria Mulkern, Director of Literacy and Title I, and she is new to Malden. So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you, school committee members. As Ms. Mertz previously explained, we are completed with our Title I application for this year. Our grant is $2,041,859. Of these funds, we are mandated by the state to reserve $85,364 to local Catholic schools that service Malden students. They are Chevres in Malden, St. Teresa's in Somerville, and St. Anthony's. And these schools use these funds for reading specialists, Chromebooks, and supplies. Of the remaining funds, we are following previous year's practice and using the funds mostly on personnel, such as 11 literacy and math coaches, reading specialists, 2 part-time family coordinators, 28 part-time literacy assistants, and over 35 summer school teachers and paras. We are also using the funds to renew our licenses for the Dibbles and iReady licenses, which provides us with benchmark data, as well as summer school materials. And lastly, we are allocating funds for family engagement so that we can once again host monthly family breakfasts and family game nights. This summer, we've hired 6 new part-time literacy assistants, bringing our total to 28. Next slide, please. We're gonna once again engage in our monthly family engagement events, both outside and at night. We've hired an additional literacy coach at the Salem Wood to account for a high student population. And this year, following the state's guidance, we're gonna focus on ongoing PD for teachers on acceleration and not remediation. On September 1st, myself and Title I staff will be at all the kindergarten orientations to provide books to all the kindergarten students. Starting September 1st, we will start conducting our Dibbles and iReady baseline testing, grades K through 8, to gather data and start our emergent priorities in literacy. We will implement the PALS testing for pre-K students at the ELC to start a streamlined pre-K through 12 pipeline. And as Superintendent Pena stated, we are starting the curriculum adoption process for next school year. And please, if anybody is around, please join us for our first Title I September events. They will all be breakfasts outside the school from 8:15 to 9 a.m. The dates are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have the athletics, the physical education. Mr. Crawford, thank you.
Forgive me, I wasn't prepared. I didn't think I was speaking tonight. But welcome. It's great to see everyone in person and not on Zoom. So we're obviously elated to be back in person, offering a full slate of athletics this season. All of our regular sports in co-ed field hockey, co-ed golf, girls and boys soccer, football, girls volleyball. And I think I got all of them. Please forgive me if I forgot them. We also have middle school sports. One of our things that we really missed during COVID was we weren't able to offer as many things as we normally do throughout the non-COVID years, but we're excited that middle school sports are back. Registration is on the Malden Recreation website for girls and boys middle school cross country, baseball, softball, and we're back to running our intercity girls and boys basketball league at the Salem Wood School on Wednesdays. So if you need more information, please feel free to reach out to me. And then last but not least, my favorite of the year is unified sports. We were able to offer a few games this past spring in unified basketball, typically played in the fall. So we're ready to go again, and we'll be playing 6 to 8 games home and away with some league partners with the Lynn Public Schools. Medford High School now is going to have a unified basketball program as well. So we're excited. Questions?
You will beat Medford.
Of course, yes. And for those of you who don't know, we do have a new football coach in Mr. Witchy Exelholm, Malden High School grad. In fact, I was looking over the staff, and 7 out of our 9 coaches are Malden High School grads, and all wore a Golden Tornado football jersey over the last 15 years. So if anyone can get us out from where we were, I have complete faith in the new staff, and we're excited. So, and yes, we will beat Medford on Thanksgiving. It's home.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, and we also want to thank the mayor for hiring our students during the summer where they have a lot of fun. You can see some of those pictures, and with those pictures, that concludes my report to school committee. Any questions?
Yes, let's open it up for questions. Any members wishing to ask anything of our superintendent? Let's go first with Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Why am I always first to hit my button? And I don't know if you'll be able to handle these questions or if your assistant superintendents because some of this is going to pertain to part of their presentation. So my first question, I guess, would be for Ms. McDonald in regards to the frontline system. Very excited about that as a special needs parent myself. Would we be able to offer that to out of district?
Yes.
So the out-of-district schools will work?
Actually, the good thing about Frontline is that many districts use it. So if you have someone who moves in from, say, Saugus, per se, that uses it, with a click of a button, all of their files will come to us electronically. Every single child that has an IEP will be in Frontline, and all of their information will be in it. So it will be universal for our students with special needs.
Is it only for IEPs or have those on 504s? Okay. And I think that's all I had for you, other than thank you so much for the RISE program. I'm so excited to see a therapeutic program. I'm assuming affiliated with like our Pathways program.
So I will say we are renaming our K-8 program RISE so that it is a continuum through the grades, because the Pathways program at the high school is very different than ours at the K-8 Linden program. So we're trying to have a continuum of services that are therapeutic in nature for all of our students. So we are working very hard and bringing some extra therapeutic supports to try to rebuild our therapeutic programs K-12 right now. So that is one of my favorite initiatives for the year.
Mine as well. Thank you. And I just have one more question, if that's okay. And to Ms. Martz, in regards to the ESSER 3 funds, so our deadline to get it in is October 4th. Do we have an estimated turnaround and when we would hear approval? A couple months?
Pretty quickly.
Okay.
Pretty quickly, unless there's something out there, but they usually approve them fairly quickly for us.
Okay.
So we will get them in by October 4th, and we should hear within probably a week.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Spatafora. Mr. Iovino.
On the ESSER grant, it has to be expended in fiscal year 22, correct?
Which ESSER?
ESSER 3, I'm sorry, ESSER 3.
ESSER 3, we have until fiscal year 24.
Until 24.
Until 24.
What are the restrictions, if any, strings on that? Any restrictions on how that's spent?
I don't think there's any huge restrictions. If you do anything with capital, it just has to be put out to bid and has to be properly procured, but there's pretty much no restrictions.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Iovino. Mr. Welder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to go in order. I guess my first question, and thank you, Superintendent Noriega and your entire team for the report. My first question would be around the curriculum and instruction piece, and I'm wondering, it's really great to see a K-12 director of world languages and fine arts. What I'm wondering is, I know in the budget process in the spring, we had initially approved an additional director to split humanities and a director to split STEM. I'm guessing, maybe because he's either a glutton for punishment or one of the hardest workers here, that the K-12 director of world languages and fine arts is the spinoff of Director Hurley's position. Yes. Is there still a plan to hire the additional director in STEM?
Yes, we actually are looking to hire a K-5 STEM director, and then Doug will continue as the 6 to 12 STEM director.
Awesome. That was it for curriculum instruction. Thank you, Ms. Pena. In terms of special education, and thank you, Pam, for all the work that you've been doing over the summer. My only question was actually around Frontline too, and pardon my ignorance around it because I've never seen or used the system, but is it something that can be translated into multiple languages for our families too?
Yes, that is the other thing. It, with a push of a button, will translate languages. Maybe Chelsea might have had EastFed or EasyIP?
Yep.
Yeah,
EasyIP.
so
Last time I'd seen.
EastFed was bought out by Frontline, so it's the same company.
Cool, very cool, because I know that's something, so thank you for that, because I think we've heard loud and clear, and I know Michelle has been doing a significant amount of work, as has Jen, with CPAC and our special ed families, but that one of the biggest pieces, and Leah, you brought this up throughout the injury process, was, you know, making sure that these documents that we hand people to sign are things that they actually understand and have access to, and this seems like it is taking a gigantic step forward, so thank you for that.
The other thing is, Larissa and I are working together to train the family liaisons in the process, so they will be able to help families as well.
Awesome.
And can I add, parents would be able to sign IEPs to Frontline, which would make things easier for them instead of asking them to come sign, and so it's going to be an amazing system for them to use.
Thank you, and thank you to I didn't have any tabs in Larissa, your report, but I'm so excited to work with you on the policy piece, and I'm really excited to see the parent liaisons that we have in our district now, because I know that's another thing that we've been pushing hard for quite some time, and to see it become a reality is really great. The only I tabbed the Tony, your section, just to say, please, no, you don't have to, just pass along our gratitude to the custodians for the work that they've been doing. I had the opportunity to see 2 of our buildings this past summer. It's amazing, the work that they've done preparing for this year, making sure that people have what they need, making sure that things were clean. But on top of that, I know that you have done a significant amount of work converting classrooms this summer, particularly around when the budget, we phased out the old school like computer teachers and turned it into digital literacy coaches, and those rooms you can't just snap your fingers and have that computer lab turn into a classroom. And the rooms look like there was never a computer lab there, so it's a great space for a new classroom teacher to be able to set up their home and their environment for their kids. So thank you, thank Director Rubin and the custodians for all the work that you've done this summer. My question, I'm going to wait. I'm wondering around the enrollment piece. One of the things that I noticed, I don't know if we noticed, is the first time I think I've ever seen Salem Wood not be the highest enrollment. Beebe had surpassed Salem Wood, and I'm wondering if that's because of the backlog of registrations. So I do have questions about the enrollment and the EL distribution, but I'm going to hang tight on them and wonder maybe when we get an updated enrollment report, if we could share that with the committee, just to get a better picture of where things land once the applications are processed. But I would like to ask, and welcome back to Director McCabe, we have Title III coaches. How many Title III coaches do we have in our district now?
So
it's good to see you here again.
It's so good to see you. Under the Title III grant, we have 1 Title III coach, and then we have an EL coach under the district. So there are currently 2 K-12 coaches.
Okay. Okay, that answered my question. So I was curious, I know that Victoria, during your presentation, you also mentioned, I was curious about the 11 literacy coaches and wondering if, not that it's not necessary, but does the enrollment piece at Salem would justify the third literacy coach and the conversation that we had before, the third assistant principal piece, but I wonder if it's necessary, and I wonder if maybe, my question was around whether or not we should start thinking about like the specific needs of the building, and maybe there should be a dedicated L coach per se that worked with, you know, the buildings with the higher enrollment, but I just figured I'd put that out on the radar.
Thank you for that comment. The 11 include 6 literacy coaches and 5 math literacy coaches, so numeracy coaches for each of the kids' rating schools.
Gotcha. All right.
So, but we can definitely consider about allocating, especially if the enrollment is different.
Just something to think about. I'm making an assumption now that we've had this report today that we're probably going to see those enrollment numbers shift and it'll look the way that it used to look, and that Principal Van will see an increase in kids like she's probably used to. But I'd be curious to see when that comes down. And that's it for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Iovino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for Ms. McDonald. Pam, the dual, either you can answer it or maybe Chris Mastrangelo. What is the current number of youngsters involved in that dual program with Bunker Hill Community? Do we know?
That's going to be Erin.
Okay, all right. Erin, sorry.
Yes, this is one of my favorites. So in 2021, we had during COVID, 143 students who were dually enrolled, meaning they still took Malden High classes as well as Bunker Hill courses. And then we had approximately, I think it's 38 or 40 students who were considered early college students. And across the state and country, early college programs are sort of the new wave of connecting high school to college and ensuring that post-secondary success. So we had about 40 of those students. We're expanding the early college program with the potential for associate's degrees or completing entire years of college while in high school to probably 60 or 70 with the hope of being 100 plus in the next 3 or 4 years. The dual enrollment program will continue to climb, but typically 100 to 200 students will take additional college courses. So the data last spring, I think it was 39% of the graduating class of 2021 had taken at least one college course while at Malden High School.
Thank you very much, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iovino. Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say to Ms. Craven, having attended the Ron Janowitz Pathways graduation, how fantastic it was to have somebody graduating dual enrollment out of that program. And I don't know if there was more than one, but I love the fact that there's equity, in the programming. So thank you for that. My last 2 questions are for Ms. Mertz in regards to operations. On your slide, we talked about every Friday electrostatic sanitizer for all classrooms after school. Yep. How does that work with our after-school programming being in the schools? Like, are we doing this very late night?
So those will happen after the after-school program ends,
Yep.
so at their dismissal. So we won't do any electrostatic cleaning until everybody's exited the building. Most schools would be around 3 o'clock or 3:30, but the schools that do host an after-school program will be done in the evening after they leave.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't moving kids out of classrooms to get work done. And then my last question is, I'm very excited about the water bottle filling stations. Any chance, are these filtered?
They're all filtered.
They're all filtered.
No,
Okay, I
they're
just
all
wanted,
filtered.
that's, okay.
No, they're all filtered.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yes, but I believe right now they're still closed off. We're waiting for the okay from Chris Webb to be able to open them. So we're in communication with Mr. Webb. But no, they are filtered, and we do change out the filters.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Spatafor. Any other questions? Just a few from the chair. Assistant Superintendent Pena. Under updates, second bullet, curriculum adoption and support, K-5 math curriculum. How many teachers have to be trained to catch up on that curriculum?
Sure. We just had our new teacher orientation with approximately 60 new educators, at least 30, 40 of those in elementary, not high school. So all of those teachers will need to be trained. They have already been, the coaches at each of those schools have already been notified that these teachers are going to need some support until we set up the training. And I've been working with Mr. Dias to make sure that we set up training. And not just for these new educators, but we had 3 other trainings set up during the year. And for various reasons, COVID, people's schedules, some of our educators that are not new have also missed it. So it'll be an opportunity for them to also take the training.
Under new information, first bullet, pipeline for paraprofessionals to become teachers. 7 participants, is that what you had projected? Or did you not have a projection on how many would participate?
I didn't, because so the new cohort starts, they actually already met once, and the hard deadline to get new people registered was September 7th. So I literally gave all of our paraprofessionals, which is about 50 in the district, that already have a bachelor's degree, that was the criteria. I gave them maybe 3 days notice of this meeting. So given the short notice, I wasn't sure what to expect. So I was happy with the 7 that actually showed up. In addition to that, I had at least 4 others that accepted the invite, but then emailed me and said that something came up and they couldn't attend. So I assured them that we would be having additional trainings scheduled. There's one already in January. But of the 7 that showed up, that 3 of them already registered and are really excited to go through the program and work as teachers in Malden was very exciting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
If we can add, we are going to open status sessions for any of the paraprofessionals or staff in the school that need to pass the MTELs, knowing that that's sometimes very challenging for new educators. So we are going to start opening the academies for 4 sessions. And we do have some amazing people already working in our schools, training colleagues on how to take the MTELs. So we are going to hire a stipend our own teachers in order to be able to conduct to have these sessions. That's the pipeline we are trying to increase in our schools.
Good, okay. Assistant Superintendent McDonald, under new information, the first 2 bullets, Malden High School is opening an early college center.
Yes.
I know you talked about the numbers, the raw numbers, but I'm more interested, where is the center located? And
It's in the high school.
And do you need,
Oh, no.
I know it's in the high school, I'm just curious as to where.
I didn't want Ms. Craven to run up to the microphone again, so I thought I'd hobble up. We actually took an office and converted what was one of our faculty rooms because of the numbers that Ms. Craven just shared are growing.
Right.
And we switched it. It's on the 4th floor of the Boyle House. It's really convenient for any of our students that are in early college. Can go in the elevator right up to the 4th floor, right across from the elevator. It's also a section where we have a study center within the room. We give it a bigger room, some nice furniture. So if kids come in and they have a class at night, there's an area where they can sit and do some work, maybe get some support. It's really a welcoming center. Ms. Craven has taken a little part of it so she can be there to support Ms. Fornash, who's overseeing the center. So it's a nice, again, location right up the elevator, right to the spot. So
That's great. And
it is in the high school, yes.
I was just with the Bunker Hill Community College president, and she's very bullish on Malden. There's even talk one day of them having a satellite campus here, an actual campus, so fingers crossed that happens.
That's been we've been ahead of the curve. We've
Right.
kind of been a state model. It dates way back to Dana Brown, and I will say Ms. Craven has been the champion of this, and it's grown under her watch back when we worked together, and now as the district level, it's going to continue to grow. So we're very fortunate.
Yep, and Superintendent, I would like to see that when I'm with you at the high school. I'm just curious to see it. And then the same thing goes, Assistant Superintendent McDonald, you might want to keep the principal here, is where is that new therapeutic program?
That question I can answer. That is being housed in the old superintendent's suite. We've turned that into the Rise Center.
Okay, got it, very good, okay. Ms. Malkin, could I just ask you a question? Under updates, first bullet, the personnel,
Yes.
how many of these positions have been filled?
They've all been filled except for the administrative assistant. The administrative assistant retired actually on Friday, but the posting is up on Talent Ed, and we're hoping to fill it within the next week.
Very good, okay. And then under the same page, the monthly events for families, are those per building?
Yes, per building.
Okay, very good.
Except for we also hold a few family academies each year. Currently, we have 2 scheduled, and they're on cyberbullying and mental health awareness. And one will be held in November, and the other will be held in May, and they're for all schools at night.
Okay, very good. My final question is directed to the superintendent, and it's something that Mr. Iovino, I think, touched on in the enrollment. So one number that did jump out to me are the dropouts.
Yes.
Is, how does that compare to previous years?
It's very similar to previous years, and we are trying to work with John Marceline to go back and make sure that he knows every single student, go to their homes, go wherever he can to find the students and bring them back. That is the goal, and we know that because of COVID, probably the numbers were a little bit high, and we'd be glad to provide to you in a 5-year spectrum of how that number changed. So next time I provide the data, I can actually do 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
No 5, let me go back, so you
No,
can
that
actually
would-
see the pattern on enrollment, dropouts, and things like that. But he's going to start working on these 40 students, their names, we know these students, so we will be able to go. I do not know them personally, but we know them in Aspen, who they are, so we can go and get them back in our district.
Yeah, please, I think the entire committee would be curious
Absolutely.
as to what you find going forward at each of our meetings.
Absolutely, I
Okay.
would be glad to do that.
So there is a chance that you will be able to whittle that down once you get a hold of the families and find out.
And that is the goal, and also working closely with the principal from the high school will be to see if they can go into the Pathways program to see what are the credits that they need to see if we can accelerate or support them more into their academic goals.
Is there a chance some of those are miscoded? They had just simply moved to another district, but they're being counted as a dropout? Is that a possibility?
There is a possibility, and we are looking into the data and the data systems. And Larissa and I actually meeting this week with the person that is holding our data and going over every single code to clean all the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, Superintendent, so does that cover everything you had on your end, or?
Yeah, that is actually my report, and if you don't mind, I would like to continue with this format. So
Yep.
I don't present to you, but my department will be presenting to you, and that will be always the format of data informing the practice, and then we can just see the progress of the district.
Okay, very good. So we can move forward on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, the only thing I see on here is, under your report, this policy, Chromebook loaner agreement?
Actually, it's part of your package, and that is just for you to, for your information, that we
Okay.
actually created this policy where students will be taking ownership of their Chromebooks because we got new ones, and we are going to be replacing from grades 5 to 12, new Chromebooks that are touch screen, and they actually flip and become tablets. So
Okay.
because of the investment, we want to make sure that parents are going to look at it, and there will be a cost if something happens due to negligence.
Okay.
And then renaming the Parent Information Center to be the Welcoming Center.
Yeah, touched on that, yep, okay, very good. And Mr. Iovino, we're pretty covered with you, right, on the space and enrollment?
I believe so.
Yep, okay. All right, so, is there a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on items number 3 and 4. 3, just on items number 3. I guess for the 2 attachments that you sent us, the acceptable use policy, that one's just an FYI, right? We don't need that, we're not adopting or moving with anything. My question with number 3, with the student mobile technology duties and obligations. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is something that should go through policy, because this to me feels like our, almost like a user fee in a sense. So I don't know, and I'm perfectly fine deferring to the will of the body, but you know, I think it just should be very clear that it's not something that the school committee adopted.
And it's not a policy, actually, it is just a user form and also the accountability for students. But if you want me to propose it as something that you want to vote on, that would be fine. We will be presenting next time we meet. The only, we need to actually start giving students these forms as when we give a computer, we need also something signed. So it's not a policy, it's a practice.
It's fine with me if it's fine with the body, but I do think it's, I think it's walking,
Okay.
well, I don't know.
Anybody else? Mr. Iovino?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we probably should really look at it as something of an adoption, because we're talking about a big expenditure of funds for that. So I would simply agree with Adam. I think that we need to look at that and maybe refer to it, or refer it to policy for consideration, and then discuss it at the next meeting.
Anybody else? So we may have to call the committee back then. So we might have to have a special meeting then to get this resolved so that you can get these forms out, right? So let me go over to Mr. McCarthy and then over to Ms. Spatafora.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. If Mr. Weldy is making a motion, I'll gladly second that if that's going to go to policy. Yeah, because that sounds like a good idea. So.
Okay, Ms. Spatafora?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. I think this is very similar to many other forms that go out in our K through 8 or our family or student handbooks. And the handbooks are something that is approved by the school committee. So I think this, going to policy would be a good idea. I did have a question on the previous form that Mr. Weldy, the acceptable use policy, and I just want to make sure, because it says it was adopted by the Malden School Committee in 2013. So that's kind of, could it be outdated possibly? I'm just wondering if this, because it was adopted so long ago, if this is something that should be taken, we should take a look at it as well in policy, just.
So I can propose it in a special meeting as a policy, that would be fine, there's no problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Spatafora. Mr. Iovino?
No, I agree. We just take them in tandem. We're going to look at one, we look at two, and make it a package. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I would second a motion for that too.
So Superintendent, if we're to go down this road, when would you need action by us? I mean, I think time is of the essence,
Yes,
is it
by,
not?
I would say by Monday or the latest, because we are expecting to release the computer soon. I can wait probably by, I'm looking at my calendar right now. Give me 1 second, and I will say, give me 1 second, please. And no internet.
Yeah, while you're checking, let me, Ms. Luong, did you have your light on? No. I'm sorry, okay.
So my internet is not working, but I will actually send you the information because I cannot have access to my calendar. Give me 1 second. I would say that by September 13, we should have that already approved and in place, so we can do backwards mapping from September 10 to now. I don't know if that's enough time.
Okay, well, we'll call everybody back in then prior to the 13th. You're saying that you should have everything
The 13th.
approved.
By the 13th, yes, if possible, yes. So we can start that Monday,
All
already
right,
giving the
we'll
computer.
figure it out offline.
Sure.
So, all right, so we have a motion, seconded, I think it was Mr. Iovino, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. So everybody clear on what's being referred, and everybody's clear that we will be coming back prior to our September 13th meeting to act on this. All right, very good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Nothing under motions and resolutions. Actually, we just did that. So now, points of personal privilege before we entertain a motion to go into executive session. If not, we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. And again, these are for the purposes of executive session minutes approval from August 9th, non-union contract negotiations, supervisor of attendance, and to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with paraprofessionals. Motion by Mr. Iovino, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Clerk will call the roll. One second there. There we go.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. Froyo?
Mr. Foyle? Yes.
Mr. Gray? Yes. Mr. Iovino? Yes. Ms. Luong? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Pettiford? Yes. Mr. Walder?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Okay, we'll now go into executive session. We will then return. We may or may not act on some of those agenda items in executive session, and then we will move adjournment.
Rosetta, thank you so much. You are clear to sign off. See you all next time.
Oh. Yes. It is. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you. I'll talk to you. Okay, thank you for coming, yes. Oh my God. No, 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 no problem at all, no. Tómanos una foto los tres. Adam. She's going to take a picture of us. Do you mind if we remove
is Chris Simonelli's event. You can pick what you want. Or would you rather, you know what I'm saying? So how do you want me to handle it? Oh, fuck, there's over 100, like. So like, that's the thing, like, you know, 'cause you want to look at, like, with, you say your son and your daughter would probably be good at this. Like, I have no problem doing it for you, but like, in other words, what if you look at the paper and you're like, fuck,
All right. Do we have everybody? Nope. See ya.
Good night.
Good night. All right, school committee is back from executive session. We'll entertain any motions. Motion by Mr. Iovino.
My motion is to, due to an oversight on our part, Mr. Chairman, for the supervisor of attendance, I propose a cost of living raise for 2.5%, as I said, which was an oversight on our part for the 2020-2021 school year. That raise was effective July 2020, July 1st.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions on it? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yes, except for the supervisor of attendance.
Yep. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. All those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
School committee is hereby adjourned.
Night, John.
Good night. Thank you, Adam.